I should have dressed for the occasion, but that's all right. Nobody listens.
You're perfect. Hey, it's Lynne Brown. I'm a speaker, trainer, and coach with the John Maxwell team and a teaching partner with Empowered Living. In the first half of my life, I literally was trapped by the opinions of other people. And then in my spare time, I was a people pleaser. That's nowhere to be. If that was not bad enough, on top of that, I really had a broken mindset, but I wasn't aware that my mindset was broken. And then one day I just got sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I don't know if you've ever experienced that or if you know someone that's there now, but I remember where I was the day that I made that first step. I just decided to take the step in the direction of my dreams. I had no clue how I was going to get there. I just knew why I wanted to get there. And I took a step in the direction of my dreams. And for the first time, I bet on myself. I literally invested in myself and began to bring in mentors and coaches in my life, and everything began to change. It was sometime after that I saw a quote by Wayne Dyer that said, when you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at change. And I was like, this is my life. I mean, it was just like, oh my goodness. And, not that my life is perfect at all, because nobody has a perfect life, but I'm a heck of a lot farther down the road. I'm where I am today, and I look forward to tomorrow. Growth is a daily process. And so our purpose here on the Gritty Women Global podcast is just to bring you amazing guests, people that will encourage and equip you. And today I'm just so totally excited to bring to you Maria Romano with True Love Knots. She has a powerful story, a story of transformation in her own life, and how she took an experience in a place that she was in and turned it into such an amazing blessing for others. So, I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over to her. Maria, we are super excited to have you on the Global Women's Podcast today. Tell us, what are you most excited about?
Well, first of all, I'm excited to be here and meet you. And I want to tell you, you touched on several things that I think a lot of women in particular go through. You touched on being a people pleaser. We're all people pleasers. And we're always trying to do. We're moms, right? We're sisters. We're friends, aunts, whatever it is. And then you talked about where Wayne Dyer said, when you look at things the same way, you're going to get the same results. When you look at things differently is when things change. That is so true. And you made an investment in yourself. And it sounds sort of similar to the same path that I'm still on that path, Lynn, of making an investment in myself, because I feel, you're your most valuable asset. So you have to take care of you. And I think we as women, as we come into a certain age in our life, we recognize we need to be who we are instead of what others think we are. And I think that's the key thing to anything in life. And I wish I would have learned this when I was 20, but you know what? I wasn't ready to listen, right?
That's exactly right. I think I've said that so much in my life. And, every time I do, one of my coaches will say, let's talk about that. Think into that. If you were ready when you were 20, you would have seen it. And I know, I'm like, but maybe if somebody had come to me and just laid it all out, and just maybe. And I thought, yeah, how many times did they? They probably did hundreds of times. You're right, though. We have to be ready at all ages to receive that. So that's such a good point.
So anyway, go ahead.
Tell us. I know you were just sharing before the podcast just about, in your own marriage, you lost your husband. And talk to us about that transition.
Well, actually, yes. And my late husband, Frank, in 1997 had a heart transplant. So we were fortunate. He lived 15 years post-transplant, being a heart transplant recipient. And, we always knew he was on borrowed time. And like anybody that has lost a loved one, when the time actually comes, even though you think you're prepared, you think you know it, you don't. And I have to tell you, there are times, even though he's been gone almost 8 years, I still memorialize the loss of him because he was my best friend. And I at the time when Frank passed away, I started performing wedding ceremonies around Las Vegas, like I was sharing with you. And I just went out there and I pounded the pavement. It was not an easy industry to get into because frankly, it's a male-dominated industry. Not that women, but now more women are a lot more accepted performing wedding ceremonies. So I was able to work my way up, and I worked with just a few vendors because you can only be in so many places. But then I realized too, after being a widow for a while, that I was no longer a Mrs., right? I was now a Miss. I was no longer a plus one to events. I became a just one. And that was a realization that hit me in the gut. Because if you have somebody in your life that you know you can turn to, that's always there, and sometimes we take that person for granted, and now not to have them there, it's sort of like your arm, your security blanket. And I decided, okay, I think I'm ready to go find love. I was 57 at that time. And I got to tell you something, getting back in the dating world, girlfriend, was not easy. I got my rear end kicked. Oh my gosh. And what's interesting is I looked for coaches. I started, but you know what? There wasn't anybody out there that really was my age group, my demographics, being a widow. It's so different when you've been in a relationship for many years. Either you're divorced, right, or you're widow or widower, and all of a sudden, okay, now what do you do? And some people are still going through relationship residuals if they had a divorce that, they're still trying to get over, but they want to go find love again moving forward, or you're still mourning the loss of a spouse through death, and you have to push your way through. And I think when you get back in the dating world, there are questions you need to really ask yourself. And when I couldn't really find the right answers and I made all the mistakes and I had to step back, and being from my business background, I started developing a course. And I actually went out and I took some classes, and I learned how to put together my signature talk and put together some workshops. I have a digital workshop. I have a coaching, group coaching, and then of course private. And I'm now going to a membership program for my services. So it's all evolved. It's been, like you said, a work in progress. I have a passion for helping people. There are too many people out there that get out back into the dating world, and they really need to sit down and assess, especially when they've lived life and they've lived most of their life. And you really need to ask the questions, what do you want in a partner? Because what you wanted in a partner 20, 30 years ago is a lot different than what you want today. And you're not just taking a partner into your life and saying, well, everybody will just accept him or her. And you've got family. I mean, I've got children, I've got grandchildren, I've got friends, people in the professional world. In the same way, when you meet somebody else, they have the same thing. So you have to learn how to blend, and it's a blend. So as a result, I always tell people you really need to take the time. And coaching and dating is still relatively new. We have business coaching, right? We have physical coaching for our bodies and helping us with our minds. But when it comes to dating, we really need to think from the waist up, Lynn, not the waist down.
That is for sure. Yeah, I think too many people make that mistake a lot of times. And, I'm just sitting here thinking, wow, your message, like you said, you're targeting a certain niche, of women, but there's such a powerful, underlying message here for all women of all ages, to really know what they want in a partner, and how amazing it would be, for them to even lean into this idea of thinking into that, just really giving some thought rather than just, like you said, thinking from the waist down. So yeah, that is so powerful. What are you finding, if you had to pick just one thing for the sake of today, what are you finding when women come to you? What is the most common thing they first say to you? Well, like when they're just clueless.
Well, if they think, first of all, when they come to me, and I coach women and men, but in particular, what I see with women is we feel a bit insecure. We right away they say, well, I've been dabbling online, the dating platforms, because that is the way the world is, meeting people online. Not that you can't meet them in real life, but it's a little different nowadays, especially with COVID, right?
Yeah, you got a social distance. Yeah.
Dating, exactly. So they say, well, you know what? I can't compete with the younger people. I said, first of all, you want somebody in your life that's going to love you for you. I don't care how many facelifts you've had. I don't care how many liposuctions you've had. Really, you have to really hone in on what are your best assets. What makes you unique? Like, Lynn, you have things that make you unique. I have things, and your listeners out there do. And that you really need to fall in love with yourself. And I mean this, and this is a lot easier said than done. And a lot of your listeners out there, I hope you young ones listen to this, because as we get older, we do learn to fall in love with ourselves. We accept ourselves. Not that we have to be so rigid, but there are some people that are women that are very set in their ways that, you know, it's a give and take. If you're going to meet somebody, it's a partnership. So there has to be a balance. So that's the first thing, is trying to get them to change a little bit of their mindset, whatever works for them. This is how I feel, is you need to really be ready and open to receive. And when you're ready and open to receive what's given to you, and again, looking at the same thing differently, you're going to yield different results. And once we start with really attitude and energy, and positive energy is like the biggest thing. And you know yourself when you meet somebody, when they have a great aura about them, it's infectious. And it doesn't matter what you look like. You know, you could be 50 pounds overweight. You can have, I don't care how many wrinkles on your face, you've earned them. You've earned them. And you've got to learn to love yourself. And that's when you're going to really, I think, start attracting that right person. So I find the lack of confidence, and women are growing into their own skin as they get older. I think that's the beauty of being the ages when you get to over 40, 50, 60, 70 and beyond.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And I think it all does begin with that mindset. And I believe that until, you know, that space between our ears is conquered, not that we'll ever totally conquer it while we're walking around on this earth, but there are so many programs and so many limiting beliefs, you know, that we have got to be able to identify and recognize. And sometimes we can't do that without a coach, and that's the power of the process. But, you know, if you can't have a coach, sit down in some quiet time and start thinking about the things you're telling yourself, because those messages, those things that you, and I can even catch myself doing it even now after all the coaching and training. I have 8 mentors. I mean, who has 8 mentors? But it takes a village for me. But, you know, but still, you still catch yourself, you know, saying, oh, that was so stupid or whatever. And how you know, your mind doesn't know the difference between an imagined thought or a real, you know, actual, you know, detail in your life. And so I think that is so powerful, and it's such a powerful message. What is there one story? You know how we love stories. Is there one story that just stands out when you like, oh, I'll never forget this one wedding? Is there you know, just an amazing hero journey story or something you could share with us?
Well, actually, yes. And I share this with when I'm doing a talk. I'll never forget. It was 2017 Valentine's Day over at the Link Hotel in Las Vegas. It was my last wedding of the day. I think it was wedding 14.
Wow.
And I'll never forget, I had the groom standing by me. His name was Sam, and Sam had beautiful, sparkling brown eyes. And you had to see as Vivian, his bride-to-be, was coming down the aisle, blue eyes, her face lit up. And they were just like, they were so enthralled that they forgot that I was even there. But I want you to know, Vivian was a cougar. So Vivian was 92, and he was 87. And Vivian walked down, actually Vivian came down the aisle in the scooter, and he was standing by me in a walker. And they couldn't keep their hands off of each other. Their love story, they met 6 months earlier at an assisted living facility and wanted to get married. And that to me, that wedding, I will never forget, Lynn.
That is so really, precious.
Right, solidifies. Love has no age limits, and you never know when you're going to find love.
That's exactly right. That is such a beautiful story, just the power of love. And, you know, it's so interesting too. It's like you said, you know, even though we're going through, you know, so much change right now in our country and our world, no matter what is canceled, no matter what is delayed, love has not been canceled, and it never will be.
That's right.
Wow. That is so beautiful. Tell us, how can people get in touch with you, Maria?
Well, they can get in touch with me. They can email me, maria@trueloveknots.com, and then it's KNOTS on the knots. They can also access me. I'm very accessible on my cell phone, also at 702-501-4150. And of course, go to my website, sign up for the free dating tips. I don't hound you. I send out something once a week. And some of the information that I give you is information that's valuable. Like I said, again, I wish I would have had that information when I started. Yeah. And my book, my ebook should be coming out, and my print will be done right after. So I'm so excited. I have a book coming out as well.
Well, congratulations on that. That is amazing, an amazing task to push out. And we will definitely include that too, on your bio. And so when we launch the podcast, all of your intake, all your contacts info will be on there too for our listeners. And I know that you've been a great encouragement today. Oh yeah, one thing I always think at the end to ask this: when you saw the word gritty, when you saw the Gritty Women Global Podcast, and G is for gratitude, R resilience, I is for inspire. The 2 T's are think tough, and Y is you do you. Which part of gritty resonated with you?
I think the why. You do you. I think that's the key thing. When you're authentic to yourself, you'll have no regrets. That's what I think when I hear the word.
It's so powerful. It really is. We just have to be our true selves, not who, like you said, not who everybody else has told us, and not even who we are being right now, the person we were created to be. Wow. Well, thank you so much for just carving out some time in your life today for us, and just encouraging and equipping and giving us some great insight for all the listeners out there. I just would encourage you to touch base with Maria. She is truly filled with passion, and she will be able to help you navigate through this time. So thanks again, Maria. And remember, gritty is the new pretty, and gritty is the new strong. So let's go out there and share our gritty, amazing selves with the world.